Naturally, you wouldn't understand, but a gentleman's word is his bond. In any event, you have no choice.
Open up your eyes, see inside your lives, see where your vision lies, your brother as your guide. When earth is set on fire, with all the world's desire, the fear dreams to aspire, the righteous will inspire. Yeah, the sun.
Well, thank you for joining me for Keep Hammering 2, The Battle Within Rages On. We'll tend to that momentarily, but we'll dispense with some formalities first off. I am utilizing a 45-pound weight vest. There are 3 sledges in play: Jeff, the 12-pounder, Thor, the 16-pounder, and my 42-pound sledge, Ubi, the Oberschleiten. It's going to be rotating through numerous strikes with each of those. This is a cardio conditioning session. It's rather lackadaisical in the grand scheme of things. It is, as you will find out, a means to an end. As I said, this is the battle within rages on. And you may be asking yourself, what the hell are we doing watching a guy beat a tire with a sledgehammer as he's narrating? Well, brothers and sisters, your friendly neighborhood chitty-boo has been mired down in some not-so-friendly feelings. The past week has been rather tumultuous in the headspace of my mind. As some of you may know, hereditary depression runs in my family, as well as being diagnosed with PTSD. So, I've been taking very good care of myself, as you well know, investing in mind, body, and soul. But over the course of the last week, unbeknownst to me, the tendrils of the depression have reached up from the dark depths, and they've wrapped themselves around my psyche. I spent far too much time trying to understand why. Why am I feeling this way? There's no cause to it. Life is the hardest job we'll all ever have, but on the grand scheme of things, I am quite fortunate for the life I have earned and that I live. It has been, literally, almost 2 years since the depths of depression such as this reared its ugly head. I spent a little over a week at that point in time trying to deal with it and some other things. And it's not like it's a new thing for me, because here I am in my 52nd year, and I have been dealing with this monster since I was 9. Now, when I speak of investing in mind, body, and soul, that is a trifecta. But as you know, the meditation, the chanting, the yoga, they all lend themselves to a greater mental wellness. But unfortunately, due to some of the things that I've endured, and maybe some of you even share them as well, they've left a bit of a fingerprint on my psyche, as it were. Over the years, I have utilized prescription drugs, from physicians and therapists to try to combat and deal with these things, and as you well know that I've spent an extensive amount of time doing research on using natural alternatives which seem to help and are complemented by living that healthy lifestyle. You know, from time to time, our days have their ups and their downs. And even on the bad days, I'm continually giving thanks for the gift of the day. But when the darkness sets in, it's not a good place. I do my best to maintain my daily activities, still trying to maintain a physical fitness level, as you can see. Daily yoga, that is a given in our lives. I try to spend a little more time meditating and being a little self-reflective, and I find myself being all the more antisocial. Not that I'm a social butterfly to begin with, but yes, you seem to want to withdraw from people and your interaction with them. It's heart-wrenching at times sitting across from your loved ones, and the look and concern is on their face because they feel utterly helpless as they're not able to sort of fix what's wrong with you. But then again, as I said, I've been on this trail for a long time, dealing with a myriad of demons along the way. I'm sure many of you go through similar things, but again, the physical aspect of training and quote-unquote working out, if that's your thing, science has lent itself to the fact that yes, indeed, doing physical activity releases feel-good drugs and can help combat depression. So this is one of those means to an end. I'm going to drop in a little Goggins here, a little inspiration, because, you know, when I'm going through this, I spend a lot of time, I guess, mentally masturbating is a term I like to use, beating myself up in the playground that is my mind, trying to ascertain why am I going through this? Why am I feeling like this? And associated with that comes a lot of negative self-talk, and I'm sure many of you out there know that when you get into a bad headspace, I'm not talking about having monkey mind where your brain just rattles on about incessant trivial things. I'm talking about hardcore negativity where, you're being rather unkind to yourself, and it is not warranted. All right, I'll drop that Goggins in for you guys, and I'll talk to you shortly.
And from the time I was born into the time I was 19 years old, my life had these hurdles. I constantly hit obstacles, obstacle after obstacle after obstacle. And I had to figure out how to manage suffering, how to deal with it, because it'd be part of my life forever. At least that's what I thought. So in order to deal with it, I had to be able to conquer it and overcome it and deal with it and know that in this suffering, there has to be some kind of growth. With every obstacle, I look at it as friction now. Without friction, there is no growth. You have to have friction in your life to grow. So I started looking at all these different things versus the woe is me mentality. Like, oh my God, look at my life. My life's so fucked up. I come from this fucked up family. I'm being beaten. I'm being abused mentally, physically. I started looking at it as a perfect trial ground. So I had to flip it upside down and say, okay, I'm suffering tremendously, mentally. Use this to your advantage versus your disadvantage. So that's what I did. Versus looking at it as like, oh my God, woe is me, I'm never gonna get out of here. I looked at it as, okay, hang on a second. If I can overcome this, if I can find some power in this, some way to get through this, that right there will be the fuel for the rest of my life. And so I found great strength in suffering. Great strength in it because why? Through all of that, it started to callous my mind over the victim's mentality. This whole thing about suffering, yeah, it sucks. Really bad. Really, really bad. But we all live on this side of suffering. On this side, this nice box that's very comfortable, that we know when everything's gonna happen. We're in it, it's good. We know how everything's gonna turn out. It's those few people who are willing to go on this side of suffering. And once they get through that, ask him how he feels now. His mind, how far he grew. In that short period of time, he grew so much more than a normal person because he was willing to go outside himself. Because on the other end of suffering is greatness. It's not over here. So a whole bunch of us, we put ourselves in this great box. And in that box, there's no suffering in it. So what we do is we shelter ourselves from greatness. So for me, for instance, I was 300 damn pounds at one time in my life. Sprayed for cockroaches, made $1,000 a month. I was living in that box. I would sometimes look over the box and I saw hell, suffering, storms, avalanches, tornadoes. I don't want to go over there, but I knew if I can get through that shit mentally, on the other side was a 185-pound person who's a Navy SEAL, went through Ranger School. Only person to do this, only person to do that, only person to do this. But that's through all of that shit. All that shit I have to go through. So you peek over the box and you go back in and say, oh, I'm okay being 300 pounds, making $1,000 a month. Right. I'm okay over here. And on the other side is where you start to really start your journey. People think they start their journey because they're born. No, there's a lot of people in graves who have lived 100 years and have never started their real journey. Your real journey starts when you go outside that box and you start climbing mountains and start climbing mountains. And you think you're at the top of the mountain, you go down the other side of it, think I'm here, and you look up, fuck, there's another fucking mountain. And it goes on, and it goes on, and it goes on. And just when you're getting ready to quit, you crest that final mountain, you get down and you look, and there you are. And it starts to make sense to you then. It doesn't make sense to you until you get outside that fucking box. I'll talk to so many fucking people, and what I say is not for everybody. So many people don't have any clue on what the fuck I'm saying because they're in this box, and it's their brain. You first must go through suffering to find that great peace we're all looking for. A lot of us want to have, there's a lot of books out there about this 5 steps. Do this, do this, do this, get there. No, man, it's not that easy. To find real, permanent peace and enlightenment, you must go to the dark side of who you are. I could have easily just shoved my whole life under a rug and went straight to peace. Are you happy there? You overcame nothing. You jumped hell, you skipped hell, you forego this part of your life, you skip it and go right to peace. So you always have this thing back here that's haunting you, and that's that darkness. You must go into the darkness to truly find that light that you're looking for, because that's what's on the other side of that. People get it all wrong, man. You have to face suffering. You have to face this dark side, this darkness. And there's a lot of energy in there. There's a lot of goodness in there that you can use to find greatness. But you cannot find your peace you're looking for in yourself until you've overcome yourself. I think that when you die, this is just my own mindset, that you arrive in line. It helps me to get past a lot of things. You arrive in line, and let's say you're in front, let's say you die right before me, and you're in line, and God's sitting there with the clipboard, okay? Sitting there with the clipboard, like me and you're sitting right now. He's looking at you, and he says, hey, you made it to heaven, good job, okay? And then he shows you the clipboard of what your life should have been. So you live this life that you thought you pushed so hard. Then you look at the clipboard. Let's say myself, this is now me, I'm talking about myself now. Let's say I got to heaven weighing 300 pounds. I was a guy that worked for Ecolab, which is a guy that kills cockroaches for a living, which is fine, it's a job. But then I look at this, and that's how I died. I look at this, and it says on here what I should have been, because God's all-knowing, right? I look at this, and it said you should have been 185 pounds, you should have broke Guinness Book of World Records, you should have been a Navy SEAL, you should have been this, you should have been that, you should have lived this great life, you should have been an inspiration, you should have inspired millions. And then you give the clipboard back to God. Let's say you lived 80 years on Earth, and now you realize that you lived here being a shell of who the fuck you should have been. So now you're in heaven. But are you really in heaven? Because now you see how much you fucking left down there on Earth. The root cause of the quitter isn't that you can't do 100 fucking push-ups. You can train anybody to do that. The root cause of the quitter is when you get in hell, you can't process it. It's too much to process because your mind starts going back to the real reality of like, I'm not ready, I'm not good enough. It's not trained. So I started training this, realizing that the only thing that makes me quit is not the muscle fatigue, it's the mental fatigue that makes me quit everything in life. So I became a practitioner of the mind. The mind's a very powerful thing. It has a tactical advantage over you all the time. It knows your fears,
Right.
It knows your insecurities, it knows where you don't want to go. So it will guide you away from that. And that's why the mind will always win until you reprogram it. It will always win until you fucking reprogram it. Because the mind controls you. Why is that? It's your fucking mind. It's your mind. Because all those things that happen to you in your life, all those bad things, all those things that you blame other people for, they're now yours to own. You gotta figure out a way to reprogram your mind to get outside the box.
There's so much that Goggins talks about that truly, truly resonates with me. I'm sure many of you have also endured hardships as children, whether you're mentally, emotionally, or physically, sexually abused. Yeah, you carry that around in your life, but thinking outside the box, enduring suffering, because that is what defines and makes you and your ability to overcome and deal with these situations, to get out of those dark spots. And you know, I attribute a lot of my depression to the hereditary factor, as well as some of the PTSD is due to some of the things that I've endured both as a child and as an adult. And along the way, I am responsible for every single choice that I made that had repercussions that were negative, that fed into that negativity, that fed into that darkness, because we are our own worst enemies. The mind, that mental playground where so much can go on, day in, day out, all day long. That thing just never stops. It is an amazing piece of computing. Think about it for a second. Think about that muscle between your ears, because that is the most important muscle. Goggins talked about muscle fatigue and working through that. The mental aspect is king. I've known far too many people that endure physical hardships that I will never ever have an idea of what it's like. Yet they persevere, they overcome. It's the power of our minds. So in making this video, it has been therapeutic for me. I wanted to share with you what's going on. Hey, it's your friendly neighborhood Chili Boo. Has those dark days. Has those times when it's not your friendly neighborhood Chili Boo, not at all. At times I feel like I'm a shell of myself. It's like I'm looking at myself from a third perspective, as if it's some sublime reality. That's not me. I know what I'm like. I've got a zest for life. I enjoy the challenges, the physicality, the mental aspects, everything that's going on, projecting positivity, peace, love, and blessings. I mean those things from the bottom of my heart, from my very essence of my soul. I'm not being disingenuous. Again, I've stated it before, I don't expect us as a species to be holding hand and singing kumbaya. We're all just going to get along. It's just not the way our species operates. But having compassion for one another, being mindful of one another, having respect for one another. Yeah. All that starts with loving yourself, having respect for yourself, who you are, what you're doing, where you are in life. I could digress and talk about, as David did, not living up to your potential, but I know this. I've seen it. I've seen it in action. different myriads of facets of life present themselves over the course of time. You live and you learn. Well, you hope to. You have to take it in this context that it is actually the negative experiences in your life, the difficult times in your life, where, if you have a clue, you'll pick something up. You'll learn something. You'll come out of that stronger than when you went into it. And that's what I'm striving to do. Each and every time the darkness rears its ugly head. The demons reach up from the darkness with their tendrils, wanting to suck me in. They mire me down from time to time, but I'm putting in the effort. I'm putting in the work. You can put in the effort, and you can put in the work. At the end of the day, you've got to remember, you're not alone. You're not going through something that someone else hasn't. But be mindful, no matter how difficult things may be for you, there's others out there facing much, much more difficult obstacles on a day-to-day basis that almost make your pain and suffering seem trivial. I know it's hard to wrap your head around, but hey, it is the truth. I leave you little Goggins here at the end, my brothers and sisters. Again, I thank you for your time, your consideration. I'll see you soon. Remember, we have to take care of ourselves so we can take care of each other.
You're all a bunch of fucking assholes. You know why? You don't have the guts to be what you want to be. You need people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fucking fingers and say, that's the bad guy.
18.
You know me, son.
Get it. 19.
You know me, son.
Yeah. 20. You got some more in you.
Son.
21. Yeah. Get it again. Come on. We want to see it. Good. 22.
Who's gonna carry the boats and the logs?
That's you, buddy. Come on. 23. Come on. 24. One more, David.
Who's
One more.
gonna carry the boats?
You're going to do it. You're going to do it. You're going to do it. You did it. Yeah.
Who's gonna carry the fucking boats?
I am.